Hello and welcome to this new user training of AutoContour. Today we'll be covering two workflows. The first is our Eclipse integrated version that leverages the API for import and export of DICOM information. The second is our standalone version that works with all treatment planning systems and uses a more traditional DICOM import and export. I'm going to start off by showing you the Eclipse integrated version and then quickly show you the DICOM version as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started. For the Eclipse integrated workflow, you have the option of loading your structure set ahead of time. And what this allows us to do is use the same nomenclature and colors that you are already used to seeing. For version 16 of Eclipse, you do have the option to write back colors from AutoContour, so that is certainly an option there. Go ahead and launch into ClearCheck. If this is your first time running ClearCheck on a patient, you can bypass the template manager for now and launch straight into AutoContour. So that's how you would launch into AutoContour from the Eclipse side of things. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out of here for right now, and we'll launch using the DICOM standalone. So for anyone who isn't using Eclipse, this will be your preferred workflow. So here on my desktop, I have my shortcut. I'm going to double click. This is going to prompt me to log into AutoContour. And now we'll see our interface for our DICOM import. So you'll be able to point to your DICOM folder here across the top and see all of your list of available patients. Find the patient that you would like to contour. Click on either the image or structure set. Scroll through, make sure this is indeed the CT that you want to contour. So this is a really nice feature if you have multiple CTs being sent from the CT sim, so full and empty bladder, with or without contrast, and then simply say launch. So whether you're using the Eclipse integrated version or the DICOM standalone version, at this point the workflow is identical. So at this stage, AutoContour is packaging up all of that DICOM information and sending it off to the cloud for contouring. Before it does that, it does strip it of all PHI and then securely sends it for the contours. Once everything is contoured on the cloud, the contours come back, reconnect with the patient on your local computer, and then everything that we do in terms of review, contouring, things like that are done locally. That DICOM data is then deleted from our cloud. We do not keep it. Now, the first window that we're seeing here in AutoContour is our template manager for AutoContour. This is going to prompt us to add a template to the patient, which is going to help connect our structure names in Eclipse or in your treatment planning system with the model names, and then also apply a few other default preferences. So down here in the bottom left, I have my list of structures. So in this case, I launched a prostate patient, so I'm going to go ahead and add my prostate template. Once this has been added to the patient, we'll see the template in the patient templates section. And then let's review what this template contains. There are two components. The top table is all of our core structures. So your targets and your OARs will be here. And you can see you have your structure ID, any aliases, so alternative names. That way, if your nomenclature is not perfectly synchronized within your department for your Eclipse side of things, you'll still be able to connect the model that you're intending to use with those various names. You can then set your color preference as well as your review speed and window level. Down here at the bottom, these are going to be all of the structures that we're able to generate using Boolean operations. So if there are the same Boolean operations you're performing on every single patient for a given treatment site or technique, you can go ahead and populate those ahead of time in this template section, and then I'll show you how to run those on the main interface side. So if everything here looks good, go ahead and click on the check mark in the upper left-hand corner, and this brings us to the main interface of AutoContour. So here we see our axial, sagittal, and coronal view, as well as our contours. And now AutoContour does require you to review every slice of a contour before it can be exported. So the fastest way to do that is sort by status. So we have all of our AutoContour structures here at the top, and then we're going to click the play button to begin that process. So as soon as I hit the play button, it is going to start auto-scrolling through the contours for me. Now to help speed along that process, we do have the option to do a group review, and I have that turned on. It's a setting in the administration application. What that allows me to do is have AutoContour automatically turn on structures that go together. So they use the same window level that makes sense to review together. They're in the same region of the patient, in this case, bladder, penile bulb, and rectum. Now our command center for the review process is down here in the center of our axial window. We have our approval, our rejection, as well as our play pause. And then the last section here is the scroll speed. So right now we're at 5x. We can certainly slow that down just by clicking and dragging this. I can pause the scroll at any point by hitting the pause button or simply clicking in those axial slices. Now, if all three of these contours look good, I can go ahead and click the check mark here, or I can give them an independent approval or rejection tag over in the table. These are all looking good, so I will approve all three. Now, as soon as I do that, it's going to move on to the next contour in our list. In this case, we have bowel bag. It's going to start auto scrolling just as it did before, as soon as it hits the last slice, moving its way back up through the patient. Now for this particular one, I did notice that the top of the contour was looking a little rough. There was some overlap with liver. So for right now, I'm going to give this a rejection and we'll come back and I'll show you the editing tools for this contour. So one of the really nice features in AutoContour is we have the contouring tools built in. So as soon as you see these issues, you can go ahead and clean them up. Now, if you would prefer to contour in your treatment planning system, you just prefer those tools, you can give this the approval tag. So the approval in AutoContour is really just your passport for export. So that's going to allow you to export these contours out either into Eclipse or into your treatment planning system. And from there, you can continue to edit and modify. If you do not want to export this out, you just decide that you would rather draw your bow loops and you don't need a bow bag, you can reject it or just leave it without the approval status. When you go to export, it will just let you know that it's not going to send this contour. So for right now, I'm just going to give it that rejection as a reminder to come back and follow up on that. Next up, we have cauda equina. So you can review in any of these slices. So as I hover my mouse over my coronal and sagittal views, you can see that it'll start auto-scrolling in those views as well. And then once we've reviewed every single slice, the approval button becomes active, and then we can continue with our review. Now for some of the contours, we do have multiple options. The femurs are an example of this. So we have femur, and then we also have femur RTOG. So you can always change the model on the fly just by using this drop down here. So I was able to come in, sort through this list, and choose the RTOG version, which is just a little bit shorter in this case, stopping at the level of the ischial tuberosity or really that lower trochanter region. And you can see as we go from contour to contour, AutoContour automatically updating the window level for us to be the most appropriate for the contour that we're reviewing. And again, that's something you can template out, so you can choose that in your templates. Now, if you did need to override that on the fly, up here in the upper right-hand corner is our window level button. So we do have some presets, or you can grab the slider bar and window level manually. All right, so at this point, we've gotten through all of our contours. Let's go back for that ball bag and make those edits. To zoom in, I'm going to hold down the control button on my keyboard and use my mouse wheel. To scroll, I'm also using my mouse wheel, or I can page up, page down. And then to pan, I'm going to hold down my mouse wheel and just drag it around. If you need a reminder of those, it's up here in the upper left. For our tools, we have our pencil, paintbrush, our recent edit interpolation tool, which is unique to AutoContour, and I'll be talking about that here in a moment. We have an interpolate, as well as a copy paste, and then some post-processing tools. So a smoothing, a cleanup, a fill, and then a threshold tool. And then finally, we also have clear from this plane or clear from all planes. So fast ways to delete a few slices of a contour or the entire contour. So let's say we needed to clean up this bowel bag contour. It's overlapping with the liver, Overlapping with the spleen, let's make some edits so that this is still a usable contour. So I'm going to come over here and let's start with the pencil. So I can use my pencil to carve out any areas. Holding down the shift will allow me to subtract. And then drawing from the inside out will allow me to add. We also have the deform tool on the pencil, also known as the rubber band tool. And then you can change the size of this using the slider bar over here, or as you hover over, hold down your right mouse button and then slide to the left or the right to change the size very quickly. And then if you need to deform, just click and drag with the left mouse button. For your paintbrush tool, you'll be able to come in and hold down the shift key to erase and control key to fill. Again, all of your instructions will be over here on the left as a reminder of how these tools work. All right, so we have successfully carved this out of the liver, and now I'm going to use this recent edit interpolation tool to help me contour and make these edits even faster. So what this allows me to do is make an edit every couple of slices and then go back, interpolate, and overwrite the contours in between. So let's take a look at how this works. So we've edited on the top slice. Now I'm going to scroll down a few and make a similar style edit. Now this tool does work best when you start at one portion of the contour and work in the same direction. So either work soup to inf or work inf to soup, whichever you prefer. And as we start to make all of these edits, cleaning up this structure, you'll see that this count continues to increase. So this is just letting us know how many of these edits it's going to be interpolating for us. Now let's come over and click on this recent edit interpolation. You can see how it's cleaned it up. And now let's scroll back up through. So now you can see it's applied that same style of edits to all of the contours in between. So this can be a huge time saver if you do need to make some edits. Now for a prostate case, I probably won't need bowel bag all the way up to the diaphragm. So another way to use this tool is clear structure from this plane. Let's drag our crosshairs all the way down. Let's say about the area of L5, and I'm going to say clear from this one. And then recent edit interpolation. This crops that whole bowel bag down to just the pelvis region. So really great use of that tool there as well. All right, now if we're happy with the way that this has been edited, we can give it that approval and it will be ready for export when we export the rest of our contours. Now that all of our contours are approved, we can start the export process or we can continue with our Boolean operations. So if at this point you're ready to export, your export is going to be here across the top. If you're using Eclipse, when you click on this button, it is going to automatically send those contours back through the API. And when you close out of AutoContour, your contours will be there ready for you. For your DICOM export, you'll send these off to a folder. You'll launch into your treatment planning system and then import those from the folder that's specified in the admin application. Now, if you would like to continue in AutoContour, generate those Boolean operations before you export, we'll come down here to this section and review all of these structures here. So I have my CTV being generated from my prostate and lymph nodes, so a multi-step Boolean operation. So starting off with combining my prostate and pelvic lymph nodes, creating a margin on that of 8 millimeters. Now you can do a symmetric or asymmetric, and an outer or inner margin. So lots of creative ways to use this. And then from there, creating my PTV, in this case an asymmetric margin. And then we can create optimization structures, ring structures, any type of structure that you would like. If you need to add a structure on the fly, just click this plus button here. And let's do a bladder minus PTV plus a margin. So this will be a planning structure that we'll end up using for optimization. And we'll say crop, and we'll do bladder. So as soon as I start typing, it brings open my list of available options. I'll say bladder minus PTV, and let's do it with an extra margin of 1.5 centimeters. And then I can also specify the color that I want. And when this is all ready to go, all you have to do is hit the play button. As soon as you hit the play button, this is going to go through. It is going to generate those structures in order. So for instance, I did bladder minus PTV. My PTV will need to be higher than my bladder minus PTV in the list in order for this to work. To reorder, all you have to do is click and drag on these 6 black dots. All right, so just that fast, it has generated all of these different contours, and we'll see them here under the status of generated. Now, some of these have the approval already. If they are generated based off of an approved structure, it will automatically be approved. If not, it will just need to be reviewed one more time. So you can go through, same process as before, review this, make sure it looks good, and give it that approval tag. All right, so then all of our Boolean operations are now complete, and we can go back to that export and send off to our treatment planning system. So a big advantage in having those Boolean operations built into AutoContour. Now we do appreciate that not every treatment planner uses the exact same optimization structures. So we also have the option of adding personal Boolean operations. So if I knew I was going to be doing this prostate patient, I can go ahead and add the optimization contours that I like to use. And I'll show you how this template is created and managed in just a moment and say apply. Now you can see it adds in all of the Boolean operations for structures I like to use, a ZZ bladder, a ZZ bowel overlap, maybe a total femur, and then I can go ahead, click the play button here to generate those structures in addition to what are kind of clinic standards. Now those templates that are user specific can be managed on an individual basis. You don't need to have an administration application login for that. I'll show you how you can create those and specify what you would like to see. All right, so then here they are. So back in our template manager, here across the top, we also have this user structures. So you can create as many templates as you would like and then change the way these Boolean operations are created at any time. So that's part of the reason we have the login process. Or if you're using the Eclipse integrated version, it will see who's ever logged into ARIA, and then each individual will be able to manage, add, edit their own templates. So a really great way for you to create your own Opti structures very quickly. All right, so you can always save your work at any time, close out of AutoContour, and come back at a later time if you need to. You don't have to export if you're not finished. AutoContour will save where you left off. And then if you do need to hand off, say between two dosimetrists, someone's going on vacation, they haven't quite finished things up, you can save, close out, and then either a physician, a physicist, or a different dosimetrist that comes in and starts contouring on this patient will see right where you left off, what structures were approved, what structures were rejected, where things were when they closed out. Along those same lines, we also have a history log. So over here in the upper right-hand corner, you can say show history. It will show you for any of these structures, when it was approved, when it was generated, time and date stamp, who was doing that, what the volume was. So if it's gone through several iterations, let's go ahead and find that bow bag. We can see the edits that we've made. You can also revert back to any previous version of a contour. So effectively an undo button built in. We, of course, also have an undo and redo button. So if you are going through the editing process, you've made a mistake, just Control Z will undo those. All right, so now that everything's looking good, let's go ahead and click on that export. So AutoContour is going to walk us through a series of pop-ups. Now these will be slightly different depending whether you're using the Eclipse or the DICOM standalone. So it's just going to inform you of all of the things that it's doing, what it's sending back, what it's not sending back. So just acknowledging these as they come along. For the DICOM export, now this has just sent this off to my DICOM folder. For your Eclipse version, it will automatically close out of AutoContour, bring you right back into external beam. You'll see those contours ready to go. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining today. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions about using AutoContour, just let us know. Email us at support@radformation.com. Follow us on social media to keep up with all of our updates, and have a great day.